Anna. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Happy World Refugee Day, everybody. It's quite a strange thing to say Happy World Refugee Day because it's quite a sobering moment. And yesterday UNHCR released our Global Trends Report with the latest global displacement figures, which show that 70.8 million people have been forcibly displaced. And that's the current figure for 2018. So it's quite strange to say Happy World Refugee Day, but Refugee Week is also a moment where we kind of reflect on the contributions that refugees have made, their courage, their resilience, their bravery. And I think that Kate's tent, does both of those things so well. Both kind of reflects on, the sadness and the trauma that people have fled, but also celebrates the creativity of refugees and especially the refugee women who made these beautiful crocheted flowers. So we're talking in front of Kate's tent inside the majestic surroundings of St Paul's Cathedral with Anna Farina, who's the director of Syria Relief. Is that right? So welcome, and it would be great to hear a bit more about the work that you do and your organisation.
Absolutely, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure and an honour to be here in this special place and in front of this amazing creation. So I work with Syria Relief. I head up the office here in London. Syria Relief is a UK-based organisation registered here, but our team here is pretty small. So our main big team is in the field. So we have offices in Turkey, in Iraq, and inside Syria, and recently we opened in Jordan. So our strength is really to work inside Syria and in the neighboring country to support the people affected by the crisis. We started in 2011. At the beginning, it was a small group of friends that wanted to help, and they were all Syrians, expats here, that decided to start doing something in response of the crisis. The organization grew very big. Now it's probably the largest UK-based Syria-focused organization. And over the past 7.5 years, we distributed, I think, something like $130 million aid. So we work in different sectors. So our main strengths are medical education, where we have a quite big program. And I think what's happening now in Syria is still pretty bad, and especially connected this with Refugee Week, we can say that we are witnessing another massive displacement in the northwest of Syria that has been under very strong attacks in the past few months. So we are seeing a lot of people that had already been displaced into this area and now forced to move again because of the bombing. So it's obviously, from a humanitarian point of view, a very difficult situation, both for the people but also for humanitarian actors that are trying to support. So we are receiving very, very terrifying messaging from the field.
I think actually the crisis in Syria has been going on now almost 8 years, or we're in the ninth year, which is absolutely astonishing. And the figures that we released yesterday show that 2/3 of the world's refugees come from just 5 countries, which are Syria, Afghanistan, South Sudan, Myanmar and Somalia. But Syria again is still the number one sort of source country for refugees, but also in terms of internal displacement. So people have been living under siege for so long. Many of them have been in displacement camps, have been forced from their homes. With the withdrawal of IS in the east of the country, many people have been moving back, but what they've been moving back to often is complete devastation, and they still are hugely reliant on humanitarian aid provided by your organisation and by UNHCR, but not very many other organisations, because it's just very difficult to get access because of the security situation. And I think it's difficult sometimes to keep the media spotlight on the war in Syria because it's been going on so long. It's very complicated. People don't really understand that there is no sort of good guy in this situation. People are fleeing both government forces and IS as well, so it's extraordinarily difficult for people. Are there any kind of positive stories of hope that you've heard with people moving back and been able to, you know, find their homes or start their lives again?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I mean, I've been being involved in this crisis for nearly 6 years. I mean, the resilience of the Syrian people is something really amazing. And we've seen many different stories. There were some that I can talk about now. It's exactly what you said in terms of the northeast of Syria is the part that used to be under ISIS control and was liberated last year, actually nearly 2 years ago. From, I would say, January, February last year, people started to go back in a situation that is still pretty bad. I was in Raqqa at the beginning of March, and the city is completely destroyed. But you really see the willingness of people that want to go home. And you have this situation with buildings completely destroyed, and maybe one little room that has been refurbished and a small shop has been opened. So there is so much power in this. So you really see the strength of the people that don't accept to still be in a tent after years, and they want to go home. They really want to restart their life. They want their children to go back to education. So they are doing whatever they can to provide again for themselves, to not only rely upon humanitarian aid. They want to start new activities, a little bit of shops here and commerce here and there. So it's amazing. I mean, after being there, I mean, I've been in the northeast of Syria 3 or 4 times in the past 6 months. And to be honest, every time I go and I come back, I think, I don't know if we would be able to cope with such a situation. And at the end, when I'm there, when I'm in Raqqa with our team and we have dinner together, we talk, it's like talking with people, with friends here in London. So they live through these things with such a strength and a resilience that is something absolutely amazing.
Well, also it's something that's actually, you know, not too far in the past of London. You know, St Paul's Cathedral was a place of shelter and sanctuary for people fleeing bombs, and we're kind of surrounded by the bomb damage of the Second World War. So I think it's quite easy to forget sometimes that within living memory, people have experienced, you know, the same, you know, bombing and terror and loss in their own family. But, you know, just coming back to your personal experiences of going to Syria, what was it that led you to that kind of work? Did you start in 2011 or were you
I did actually. I mean, I have a very different background. I work in banking for 15 years of my life. And in 2012, I was working in Barclays at the time in the investment banking department. And I read an article about a small Italian organization that at the beginning of the crisis, when it was still possible to cross from Turkey into Syria, going from Kilis to Azaz. So they were like bringing formula milk to this refugee camp that is just across the border called Bab al Salam. And I got so impressed and so touched by the story that they were telling that I literally phoned them. And I asked the lady that was running this organization if I could travel with her. And so we started this, so she had started like a few months ago, so I went with her for the following year and a half, about 12 times, literally for 2-3 days, like leaving London on Friday, coming back on Monday.
That's a kind of unusual weekend break,
I know.
Isn't it? That not many people would take.
In fact, I mean, my friends were looking at me like, she's completely mad. But I have to say, it was an experience that I can say changed my life. And then through people that I met there, I got in touch with Syria Relief, and here So the group of trustees were already, they had an office in Manchester, they wanted to open an office in London, and they wanted maybe someone with a bit of different background. So I sort of helped them for a year to set up everything, to do a bit of fundraising, to get in touch with donors. And at the end, I decided it was something I really wanted to do full time. So I just left banking and moved to Syria Relief. And now, I mean, my role is mainly, we work a lot with like INGOs, so we work as implementing partner. We work with UNHCR as well, with UNICEF a lot. So we implement inside Syria on behalf of INGOs. So I do a lot of like donor relationship management and this type of things.
And there aren't that many people who have experience, visiting either refugee camps or countries in conflict. Kate is one of them. I've spent 11 years now working with UNHCR, visiting refugees around the world. It's something that can affect you quite deeply on a personal level. But I can imagine actually visiting somewhere like Syria that is still experiencing active conflict. In terms of like aerial bombardments, I've never been in that kind of situation, and that's sort of like next level, kind of putting yourself out there. Like, were there any moments where you were afraid for your own safety?
To be honest, I mean, I felt when I was there, when I'm in Syria, I never had situation where I was really in danger. I think it was more coming back and thinking about it and realizing that, I mean, maybe I should have been more careful in some situation. When I used to go in like 2012, 2014, I used to go in the northwest, so all the area around Aleppo and Azaz. And that was probably the most, I would say, dangerous area, because at that time it was not ISIS yet, but it was Jabhat al-Nusra, so there was quite a high risk of kidnapping. So I was always with people that I knew very well, very close to the border, never going inside, and always for the day. So we used to go for the day to the camp and coming back to Turkey in the evening and go back again. So we tried to manage the risk quite strictly, because it was not an easy situation. Now in the Northeast, I mean, the situation is much different, and there are a lot of international organizations that have staff based in the Northeast that live there. The main risk is, I would say, are like random explosions more than kidnapping, because the Kurdish administration is welcoming foreigners. But yeah, there is always the risk that, I mean, last week in Raqqa, near our maternity hospital, there were 2 car bombs and they killed 15 people. So, and it was completely random. So I think it's the case to be careful to not go out in the evening, to not go to very crowded places. I usually spend time in the office, in our hospital, in the projects that we run. So you tend to take those type of precaution. But apart from that, the people are so lovely and so welcoming. You cannot feel in danger. I mean, when I'm there, it's like I feel part of them. And I never had anyone try to threaten me or doing things like that. They're all super sweet, super nice. So it's the greatest feeling. I always say that I really feel privileged to have the chance to be part of something like that, because I don't feel I only give to these people, but also I take a lot and I learn a lot. And having children myself is something I really try to pass to them, because I feel
what do your children think about the work?
They're very involved. They love it, and I have 2 daughters, 9 and 11 years old, who have their Syrian friends and WhatsApp with them.
So have they been to Syria?
No, I never took them. That, I think it's not safe enough.
Good, I'm glad.
That is not, I mean, they're like begging me to take them to Turkey, and I think at some point I'll do that, even if the area alongside the border is not I mean, it's not dangerous, but it's still better to be careful. But yeah, they are really, really into it. Last year we did a project with our school, and they supported one of our school in Syria. We run 52 schools inside Syria, so we sort of connected their school with this in Syria, and we did all this Skype video call with the children there and the classes here. So these girls were talking to each other with a translator, and it was amazing. They really, I think what they really understood is first that these children are like them, so there's no difference. And at the end, even if they are in a conflict zone and they live in Syria, they have the same wishes, they have the same desires. So they really related to these children.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience. And then we organized this big container for Christmas. They prepare all these shoe boxes and we send them all to this school. And we did this really like with the name tag for each single student. So our team distributes them. So, and then they exchange messages. It was an amazing experience.
Wow, they must be so proud, and how brilliant to have such a great role model as their mother. I'm interested to know, like, what did the children say? Have they got like a message for the rest of the world, for the international community?
From Syria. Yeah. I think they have, some of them have very normal basic messages, which is like, we haven't received a present for such a long time. It's so nice to receive these boxes because we have never had toys. So you can really see that despite of everything, they are still children and they still have the basic needs of children. And some of them raise like more complicated, more like deep messaging in sense that they ask, they say that they feel they are forgotten by the world. Some of them said, even if no one is talking about us anymore, we are fighting for our land. We are proud to be Syrians. We will not give up. So you can really see that, let's say, the older children, they're living this situation as, this is our land, this is our country. We are not giving up. It's really moving. One thing I've seen, it was a picture that I've seen on a magazine many years ago when I started to be involved. It was this little photo of a girl that must have been like 7, 8 years old, holding hands with her little brother that was probably 5 and carrying a baby. And under this photo it was saying, in Syria there are no more children, there are all these small adults. And I think it's very true. Because unfortunately, you have children now that don't know anything else than war. So they grow up too quickly. And there are all the issues around early marriage that you know very well. But yeah, it's a situation where you can see they are so eager to get their childhood back. But it's so difficult.
One of the most moving phrases from me on Kate's tent is, we've lost our childhood, all of us, because a lot of people do feel solidarity with the children of Syria, and I think we should reflect on that. But I just want to end, because we've got time for just one more question. What would you like people listening or visitors to the tent to take away? What would be your one message for them?
I think, one is for sure, do not forget Syria, because it's very true what you said. The spotlight on Syria is fading. But the humanitarian crisis is still awful. So I really would like people to remember that the situation is still dramatic. And the other thing is learn from refugees, because they're amazing people. And they have so much to give, and we have so much to learn from them, so many stories to listen to. So let's welcome these people, and also let's make the most out of them, because they are so keen to give back and to teach us where they come from, what they've lived, and to teach us how they coped with all of this. So I think for all of us is great lessons to learn.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.